SNAP benefits. This entire video is going to be about SNAP benefits. What is in this one big beautiful bill that's going to Trump's desk for signing? This is the final bill, so this is what's in it. Save this video so that you can look back on it. It's a lot to absorb. Please share the video because this information needs to get out. I will share immediately. There is a lot of misinformation. You're going to see people say things like, if you have internet, you cannot get SNAP. That is 100% not true. It's not true. I will get into the internet provision later, but that's not true. Another thing that's not true that was in the New York Times is the age of how SNAP defines a child. They're saying 7 and under. Untrue. It's under 14. SNAP defines a child as age of under 14. So let's just get those two pieces of misinformation right out of the way. Save the video so you have this information to look back on, and also share it because there's a lot of misinformation. I'm going to give you the section number with every topic. This first topic is expanded work requirements, section 10102. Now, parents of children ages 14 and older must work. You must meet the work requirements if you have a child age 14 and older. For the purposes of SNAP program, SNAP identifies a child under the age of 14. Okay? You have a 14-year-old or older and no children under 14, you must work 80 hours a month. That's 20 hours per week. They are defining 80 hours a month as 20 hours per week. So essentially, you have to work 20 hours a week, and you must prove it. And for those who fail, those in any of the categories I list, those who fail to prove that you work 20 hours a week, you're only going to be allowed a cap of receiving food stamps for 3 months total within a 3-year time span, okay? Now, what does work mean? You could work 20 hours a week for money, get a job. You could work 20 hours a week through volunteering, or you could work and trade goods and services for your work where you're not getting paid. But if you can prove that, then that counts. You could also be in a work program, 20 hours minimum a week. Able-bodied adults, the age is moved to 64. If you are 64 or under and you are able-bodied, able to work, you must work 80 hours a month, 20 hours per week. Let's go through who does not have to work, okay? Because I know that's going to be the first thing on your mind. Parents of children under 14 years old do not have to work. Pregnant women, certain Native Americans living outside tribal lands, and people who are medically certified as physically or mentally unable to work, those on disability. Those are the only people that do not have to work. If you're over 64, clearly you are also in that category of not having to work. Those work requirements immediately will be effective upon enactment, meaning once the bill goes through, Trump signs it, which he might have already done by the time you watch this video. Now, exemptions, eliminations. So there are exemptions. There are individuals that have had protections from working. Well, those exemptions are going to be removed. This part of the bill will remove protections for veterans, individuals experiencing homelessness, and youth aging out of foster care. Now, Alaska and Hawaii can apply a one-time waiver by December 31st, 2028, which means if you live in Alaska or Hawaii and you're a veteran, homeless, or aging out of foster care, you will still be exempt from working because your senators made a deal so that the Republicans could get the votes that they needed to pass this budget bill. So what does this mean really? Well, it means that the work requirement exemption would expire in 2030 under this bill. So essentially, that might not even take effect ever, right? I mean, it's only 2025. That's 5 years away. Next section, restrictions on non-citizen eligibility, section 10108 of the bill. The bill maintains SNAP eligibility for U.S. citizens, nationals, certain lawful permanent residents, Cuban nationals, and adds back the Haitian nationals. So you all are eligible for SNAP benefits. It will continue to exclude many legal immigrants with humanitarian protections, as it always has. This bill removes the following individuals from being able to get SNAP: refugees, those granted asylum, and certain survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and or other humanitarian crises. Cost sharing is the next topic. It's section 10106. This is what's going to affect everybody because taxes are going to go up. Beginning 2027, the federal government will reduce its share of SNAP administrative costs from 50% to 25%. What does that mean? It means states will now have to cover 75% of the cost of SNAP for their state. So, by the way, Alaska and Hawaii are exempt from this too. That was part of the backdoor deal. So if you live in Alaska or Hawaii, you don't have to worry about anything. But yes, the states will have to pay more, so taxes will go up. They have to figure out a way, each state individually, how they're going to pay for SNAP. They will have the option to completely remove SNAP benefits from your state if they feel they cannot afford the 75% cost sharing. So if they can't find a way to pay that money for SNAP, then they have to remove the whole program and nobody in that state will receive SNAP. Internet cost exclusion. Some people are saying if you have internet, you won't get SNAP. That is false, not true. Section 10104. Households will no longer be able to include internet service costs when calculating their excess shelter deduction. SNAP may or may not be decreased as a result. So when they're figuring out how much you're going to get per month for SNAP, you can put in your internet cost per month and your electric cost per month, etc. It's called shelter costs. And what they're doing is they're going to decrease those shelter costs overall, which include internet and electricity, which means you might see a decrease in your SNAP. But I'm going to tell you right now, I really don't think you're going to see a huge decrease because they've never really allowed large amounts for internet or electricity deduction anyway. Next topic, TFP, Thrifty Food Plan Limits. This is section 10101. Now this is important. They evaluate the cost of living every year, and that determines, like, if food costs go up, the TFP determines how much your benefits will go up, right? Well, they're now going to reevaluate the TFP every 5 years instead of every year, which means for the next 5 years, you could receive just the same amount of SNAP without it increasing, and then the food costs will go up. So that could hurt a lot of Americans who are on SNAP. That will be effective immediately. Lastly, SNAP Ed defunding, section 10107, effective fiscal year 2025. Nutrition education and obesity prevention efforts will end. So there's no more guidance or support so that you can make healthier choices. That's like the educational piece of SNAP that you all get. Now, overall, this new bill will make it more difficult for people to get on SNAP and for them to qualify. And yeah, benefits may be reduced for those who are eligible. But aside from, there are a couple things in there that are very damaging that will hurt a lot of people. But it's not as bad as what some of these news outlets are making you think. So these are the facts. This is everything in the SNAP cuts. If you have any questions or comments, comment below, message me, save this, share this. I really appreciate you being here. But please like, follow, and share so that I can continue to provide you with content as well.